her repugnant attack on Ivanka Trump. And the liberal media double standard apparently also applies to MSNBC's Joy Reid. Over the last few weeks, hateful and nasty blog posts by Reid from as far back as 2005, they've all surfaced. Well, she's repeatedly apologized for the posts. Her network says she has evolved, and her show remains on the air. Joining me now, one of Reid's targets, New York Times bestselling author Ann Coulter. Ann, great to see you. I'm sure none of this surprises you. I mean, this is what you and I have become accustomed to. Liberals can say anything they want about women, minorities, Jews, and get away with it. But you found some interesting nuggets from her past.
Yes, it actually went up on Daily Caller today. One was she was wishing for you and me to be left in the public square in Iraq, which I think is interesting because I agree I wouldn't want to go to a majority Muslim country. I don't know why liberals want to turn this country into those countries. But that's, she considered that really, the worst thing you could do to us. And then in a separate post, I guess she liked or retweeted someone suggesting that I don't know if it was just me or both of us kill ourselves. And then, of course, there was the always popular calling me a man for having a beautiful swan-like neck. Liberal women, as long as we're being frank here, aren't used to that because they have rolls of fat on their neck. They're really taken aback by my beautiful swan-like neck. But the point of all this is, I mean, these nasty, nasty things that get posted by liberals, it shows they just wanted to get rid of Roseanne. I've been told my entire life, oh, no, newspapers, TV stations, they're just trying to make money. It's whatever the public wants. No, it isn't. It has never been that. Liberals say much, much worse things, but they're part of the political agenda. The reason they wanted to fire Roseanne was, I mean, she used to be kind of a left-wing loon. She became a Trump-supporting, still kind of a loon. But she had a wildly popular program, and apparently it was popular with Trump supporters, whom they enjoy calling racist.
Did you see that they're trying to maybe reboot the show without her? With just her daughter, who's obviously the more liberal character, and John Goodman apparently said, "Oh, I'd be up for that." I mean, but this is the kind of ideas they have. There's the half of the country who voted for Trump, roughly. All these people are looking for something that just doesn't offend them on a minute-by-minute basis. And this show kind of had some funny moments where someone who liked Trump wasn't ridiculed every 5 seconds. So that's all it was. It wasn't even all that political of a show. But I bet, the producers, the people behind the show, they were tired of having to answer for it at various social events in L.A. or Malibu. They don't want to answer. This is a nice, kind of ugly way of saying, oh, this is off the air. We can go back to doing business as normal, Ann.
Right. I mean, I never saw the old show or the new show, but when she was getting ratings like we haven't even heard of for 20 years, to be dumping that show because of crazy tweets she was sending. She has always sent crazy tweets. This is nothing new. I mean, I don't want to be sent to the concentration camp. Yes, I condemn her tweet. But she's always sent crazy tweets that are deserving of condemnation. It has nothing to do with that. And if they really cared about offensive tweets and so on, well, obviously Samantha Bee and Joy Reid wouldn't be on air. But we got to keep them. And
I want to talk about where this party is going. I talked earlier to Dinesh about this and how everything has become radicalized. They claim that Trump's the radical, where he's kind of really pretty mainstream and wants to work with Democrats on trade and other issues. And yet we see the Democrats now lurching toward perhaps an Elizabeth Warren, a Kamala Harris, maybe Cory Booker in 2020. And then you have the old establishment figures like John Boehner out there a couple of days ago. He came out and he's still sniffing and harumphing clearly about Donald Trump. Let's watch.
I want to talk to you about what's happened with the Republican Party.
There is no Republican Party. There's a Trump Party. The Republican Party is kind of taking a nap somewhere.
What do you think about old Boehner's comment?
I hope it's not a nap. I hope it's dead. I want the Republican Party to be the Trump Party. We might start winning again. But I thought John Boehner was off promoting marijuana or something.
Yeah, he joined some marijuana board. And, he said he was always against marijuana until he just became an advisory board member of, in other words, kind of an informal lobbyist for legalizing pot across the United States.
And you wonder why I want the Republican Party dead. And moving on, just move it aside. I mean, it should go the way of the Whigs. This is I think, a great turning point, as it was when Lincoln took over. That party has served its purpose. Yeah. All it did was lose elections, serve corporate interests. Now Trump has to do what he actually ran on.
Yeah, well, he has a long road to hoe there. Ann Coulter, thanks so much.
As it happens, the effort to kill Obamacare is not the only contentious part of the new Republican health care bill. The American Health Care Act would also cut off federal funding for Planned Parenthood. That amounts to more than $500 million a year, about 40% of its budget. Planned Parenthood is the nation's largest abortion provider by far, so unsurprisingly, those who view abortion as the linchpin of human freedom are upset about it. The Trump administration says it will happily restore the funding to Planned Parenthood as long as it stops providing abortions. The group says it's not interested in that. Jimu Green was a candidate in the recent race for DNC chair. She's also a former board member of Planned Parenthood Action Fund in New York City, and she joins us live tonight. Jimu, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Tucker.
So the Planned Parenthood line is that abortions are just a small part of what Planned Parenthood does, all the vital services they provide, and that's why they need federal funding. The Trump administration is saying, okay, then just don't provide abortions and you get your $500 million a year of taxpayer money. Why wouldn't they do that? If it's just a small part of what they do and the rest is so important, why not just get rid of the abortions?
Well, Tucker, I think we should start with being honest with your audience that there is no such thing as a federally funded abortion. There is a law that prohibits that from happening, and so that is certainly not something that Planned Parenthood supports as legislation, but they abide by it. Now, to your question
well, since you moved off the topic, let me just ask you a question. If you didn't like the NRA's lobbying for the Second Amendment, but the U.S. government gave the NRA $500 million a year in taxpayer funding, and they said, well, it has nothing to do with our lobbying for the Second Amendment. It's just for something else that we do, gun safety. You would say correctly, money is fungible. Of course, it subsidizes the things that I don't like. And the same is true of Planned Parenthood. As you know, it's money. It's like liquid. It flows wherever it needs to go.
You know where that money is flowing? It's flowing to cancer screenings. It's flowing to STD screenings and testing. Right. It's flowing to make sure that in places where healthcare providers are scarce and health professionals are scarce, Planned Parenthood is in many ways the #1 source of health care.
Okay.
And I heard you at the top of the segment say that this is Planned Parenthood's line. I would ask you to go to any woman in your life and see what her line is on Planned Parenthood, because there are 2.5 million women each year that are served by Planned Parenthood's health centers.
Okay.
This is not an issue of removing these funds and there will be another place for these women to go. It's proven that that's not the case.
Okay, so I'm taking everything you say at face. I'm taking everything you say at face. Okay. Wait. Let me stop and agree with you by saying I'm taking what you say at face value, whether or not it's true. I'm just going to stipulate that it is. I'm just going to stipulate that it's true. Why then won't Planned Parenthood just say, because what we do is so very important, we're the only health care provider, as you just said, in some places in this country, assuming that's true, but let's just say it is, why wouldn't you just get rid of the abortions? Why are abortions so important to Planned Parenthood? If the rest of what they do is more important, why not just give up the abortions? Everyone will be happy. They can continue to do cancer screenings. Why won't they do that? I don't understand.
Tucker, abortions are a legal medical procedure
that's not an answer,
in this country. And that is something that you're going to have to just reckon with, because there's a lot of talk. I've heard you on your show, Tucker, say so many times, look, Donald Trump won and we need to stop litigating this election. Well, guess what?
I've never said that, actually.
The question of the legality of abortions was decided before the two of us were even born. This is a legal medical procedure.
First of all, I was born in 1970. Wait, stop. You just undercut your own argument. You just said it is the law that taxpayer dollars do not fund abortion. Now, it's the law for a reason, because we don't as a country consider abortion just like any other medical procedure. I'm not contesting its legality. I'm aware of what Roe v. Wade says. I'm merely asking you the same question for the third time, which is, if Planned Parenthood services are so vital, it's non-abortion related services, what is the attachment to abortion? Why doesn't Planned Parenthood just say, we do so many great things, we'll let other people provide the abortions, and if you're interested in supporting that, you can donate money to those groups.
What other people?
Why will they not let go?
Tucker, seriously.
Well,
let's
presumably,
look at,
Jammu,
because of Planned Parenthood and the services they provide and the education that they provide in communities and even in schools, unintended pregnancies
You're not going to answer my question, are you?
Are down. Why is it, answer this question, Tucker, why is it that you are so against big government on every issue except for when it comes to my uterus and my vagina? Can you imagine if the government was saying, let's legislate your penis? That is not ever going to be allowed by you or any of your male counterparts. And it is time that we get past this issue.
Talking points are decades old
these are not talking
and not
points.
very
The
bright.
talking points.
Look, can we get back to the issue of Planned Parenthood funding? And if you could just slow down the Jeremiah a bit. I ask you for, and I'm going to give up after this, a fourth time. You're saying that Planned Parenthood does all these great things. The federal government is saying we'll continue to fund those great things. But we're really worried about the abortion part because, like, almost half the country thinks it's murder. It's not about genitalia. It's about a distinct human being. That's the view of a lot of Americans.
70% of Americans are pro-choice. And guess what? 50% of Donald Trump voters don't want Planned Parenthood to be defunded. And guess what? Abortion is also a critical legal medical procedure.
Really?
So let's talk about the domino effect.
Wait,
you take abortions away.
You're not going to answer any of these questions.
Okay, so then what? Because life is actually more complex than you want to talk about in this situation. So
if you take abortions away, hold on, slow down. Why should people who think abortion is immoral, and there are a lot of them, it's not 30%, it's much higher than that actually, it's about 50%, but it's still more than 5%. Why should those people have to see their tax dollars subsidize it? That's the question. And you're basically answering with a religious answer and saying it has to do with the autonomy of the woman.
Their tax dollars are not paying for abortion.
What is the problem?
You know what their tax dollars are paying for?
They're
paying for low-income women to be able to go into a health center in a community that has no other health center available to them within hundreds of miles so that they can get a breast cancer screening.
Oh, really? A mammogram? How many mammograms do they get?
Wait, that they can get tested. And this is not only women. This is men.
How many? Are they giving a lot of mammograms at Planned Parenthood? How many do you think last year they gave?
I don't have that exact number.
I don't think they did any, actually. I don't think they did any mammograms, did they?
Tucker,
or did they? It's a question for you. You were on the board of it, not me.
Let's be honest.
Do you not have the answer, Jammu? I'm trying to get the answer from you.
Health centers in rural areas, in many communities where there are no other
How many mammograms are they providing?
You
were on the board. Wait, so stop with the propaganda. I'm asking you a specific question.
This is not propaganda. I'm trying to be honest with your audience. You're talking points to demean an organization that provides
I'm trying to get a straight answer out of you. All right. I give up. Thanks, Jammu. I appreciate it. Get back to me on the mammogram question. I appreciate it.
But do you think there's a double standard between men and women? Because they're saying, oh, you know, she was mercurial, or she was, you know, kind of bitchy, or whatever they're saying about her, bossy. They wouldn't necessarily say that about a man.
They might, but it, again, hilarious coming from the New York Times.
You're talking about the liberal New York Times, right? Is that what you're saying? Well, just say it, Ann. What do you mean?
Yes, and they are fulfilling every sexist stereotype.
You're getting joy out of this. I want you to listen to her commencement address today at Wake Forest University. She talked about being fired.
What's next for me? I don't know. So I'm in exactly the same boat as many of you.
It looks like she's taking it pretty well.
Well, the sympathy, I would say, is way on her side in the press. And yes, it was a funny speech. It was good. And I was glad she gave this one. I was a little appalled and tweeted about it this weekend when I saw, remember there's Muslim woman, Ms. Ali Hersey, or Hirsi Ali, the one who's with AEI, and her big campaign is she left Islam because she was in arranged marriages and being abused, and her big campaign is to oppose clitorectomies. And at Brandeis, the good students and administration of Brandeis decided that was a controversial position to be against clitorectomies, canceled Ali Hirsi as the commencement speaker, and then got Jill Abramson. Now, Jill Abramson didn't say no then. You have dishonored a woman who is opposing the stoning of women who have been raped and clitorectomies throughout the Islamic world. But she does withdraw when she loses a $500,000 a year job. Yeah. So at least she didn't cancel the Wake Forest one. I think she never should have agreed to the Brandeis one.
I never would have dreamed in a million years that I'd be sitting here on national television talking to Ann Coulter about clitorectomies.
It's a dream come true.
It is a dream come true.